Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Stanley and along with my wife Jinlin, we are the Crumbs in the Philippines. Today we're going to talk about why I chose the Philippines as my retirement destination and how I got here. Hang loose, that's what we're going to talk about today. Thank you. Hello everybody again and thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you guys who are watching these videos and especially those of you that subscribe to the channel. It's much appreciated. I'd like to get a couple of disclaimers out there really quick. I should have done this in probably the first video we did, but I'm very new to this. So anyway, number one, I am not an expert on the Philippines and I don't claim to be. So the only reason I'm on here is to give out information from my own personal experience. The only numbers, prices, places, everything that you see or hear on this channel are from direct observation by me. It's not hearsay and it's not secondhand knowledge. But as I said, I'm no expert. And please don't quote me as an expert. Just take the information with a grain of salt. Do your research, go out and find out as much as you can from others, which is what I did and we're going to talk about today. And enjoy your life. Just try to be a positive person. It'll help improve your health and your quality of life. Number two, I'm not trying to give anybody advice, okay? Whenever I say that you can live in the Philippines for $500 a month, I'm not trying to advise anybody to come over here and do that. It's not my recommendation. That's not what I do, not even close. I lived a very comparable lifestyle to what I lived in the USA. But I have seen firsthand people that live here on very small budgets, and I showed you what month to month my expenses are, and they're not very expensive. I can't speak for others, only what they tell me and what I've witnessed with my own eyes, and just take it as far as that. And please don't think that I'm trying to advise someone to come over here with a $500 a month Social Security payment and expect to, have a good time. And you can live and eat and have a roof over your head, but you won't be able to do anything else. You won't be able to get out and travel. Like Jen and I, we travel many times every year and go on really nice vacations to beautiful places, and we'll share those with you as we go along. Number three, I grew up after the technology revolution, so it's difficult for me to learn and adapt to all the new technology features. Young kids get it a lot quicker than I do, and as such, just kind of bear with us on these videos and understand that even though I had to learn technology quite quickly in my profession as an educator in the state of Missouri, but I'm not an expert. So, and you can tell by my output here in video and audio that I am by no means an expert. So with those things in mind, we'll go ahead and get started. This whole journey started for me back whenever I was serving in the U.S. Navy back in the 1980s. And the ship that I was serving on, we came to the Philippines several times. And I took an instant liking to the country. I liked the culture. I liked the people. We'd spend 7, 8 days at a time on port call. And then on the second cruise where we stopped here, I actually took a month's leave and got away from the Subic Bay military base over there and got out into the countryside a little bit. And I really liked what I saw, and it kind of stuck in me for a long time and kind of festered inside as I went about the rest of my life and finished up my military service. And I got married to another military service member, and we spent 13 years living in Germany, which was quite a really nice experience. I enjoyed that very much. And after we came back from Germany in 2011, we moved to Missouri. and that's where I got a job as a high school teacher and a softball coach. I love softball. I started coaching it whenever we lived in Germany, in Europe, and I coached there for 10 years. And then from 2011 up till my retirement, I coached it in the state of Missouri. I was also a special education teacher, and I was certified in high school mathematics as well. And one of the things that being a special education teacher and coaching high school age girls taught me was patience. One of the things that you need to live in a new place, in a new culture. So with all that background information, I'd like to get a message out to any of my friends or previous softball players from Salem, Missouri, which was the first high school where I coached varsity softball. If any of you guys see this video and you have some old team photos, I can't find anything related to those years. If you could email me some copies of team photos that you might have at home, I'm going to leave my email address down in the description box. Please send me a copy. I'd like to feature one of those or two of those photos here on the channel and let people know what my life was like before coming to the Philippines. And then after I coached at Salem, I moved on to Lebanon High School. It's a little bit bigger high school, and I did the same there until I retired. Around 2019, I started seriously considering my retirement, and I started looking at potential places to live and retire. And I really wasn't interested in moving to another location in the United States. And if I wanted to retire at 60, financially, it would have been kind of a stretch for me in most locations in the U.S. I mean, I'm familiar with the Southeast. That's where I'm from. I was born and raised in Florida, born in Tallahassee, and grew up in a tiny little town called Sop Choppy, Florida. It's the earthworm capital of the United States. It's pretty an interesting place. Just Google it sometime. And I just wasn't interested in going back to that kind of life. And having spent the time in the military, I knew that there was a lot to see and a lot of places where you could live for less money. So I made a short list of 4 countries that I would consider. And then I just went about researching and kind of marking places off the list until I came up with the one that I wanted to live in. And the 4 places that I looked at were the Philippines, Costa Rica, Thailand, and Mexico. And for various reasons, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I ended up choosing the Philippines, and I had been chatting with this young lady online from the Philippines for a while, and we were getting to know each other, and I really liked her, and I could tell that she liked me, and we just continued to stay in touch, and I decided that, you know, the Philippines might be the place I wanted to retire. And my original plan was to bring my, at the time, girlfriend to the United States on a fiance visa, and that we could get married and I would work a few more years and until I was 6. I think that my original plan was for 62 or 63, and then we would move back to the Philippines. But COVID kind of threw a wrench in the works there. There was absolutely no possible way to get a fiance visa. The waiting list for interviews at the U.S. Embassy in Manila was almost 2 years in advance, and I wasn't willing to wait that long. So I just started looking at alternative ways to get it done, and we continued to talk and video chat on a daily basis, and we got pretty close. And over about the course of 4 or 5 months, I had feelings for her, and I could tell that she had feelings for me as well. And I decided to book a trip to the Philippines and come over, and we'd spend some time together. I was going to do it over a Christmas vacation during the school year. I had already cleared it with the administration, and I booked my airfare, booked my hotel room, and the whole 9 yards, just thinking that this COVID stuff would be over by the time that got here. I mean, I was looking at 6, 8 months into the future and had no way of knowing that this COVID thing was going to drag out so long. But when it got to December, I ended up having to cancel everything, and just it was a nightmare. So at this time, Jen had become my fiance, and we were still corresponding back and forth through video, and we decided to get married online. And that's exactly what we did. We got married online, in January of 2020, or 21, excuse me, 2021. We'd been online together for over a year at that time. And I knew that the marriage would be accepted legally both in the United States and in the Philippines. I did my research on that one as well. And my daughter and my best friend were witnesses at the ceremony. And so there we got married. And once that happened, it was just a matter of time before the Philippines opened up the visa process for spouses of Philippine citizens, and which got me over into the country way before they started allowing tourists to get here. Which kind of worked to my advantage in a way, and then to a disadvantage in other ways. It disadvantaged me because once I landed in Luzon in Manila, I was unable to leave that island due to the COVID restrictions. So we had to find a place to live that was on the island of Luzon. And my original plan was to live on Negros Oriental. My research had drawn me to the place called Valencia. You'll see videos about Valencia everywhere online, and there's a huge expat community in the Dumaguete, Valencia, Bicong area there in Negros Oriental. Valencia has a higher elevation and cooler temperatures, and really nice open air, fresh market, and the population is very small. It's not crowded at all. It was a place that I had liked whenever I did my research. But that, of course, that was out of the question. It was quite a while before we were able to travel between islands after I landed here. So, anyway, to get back to the story, sorry for rambling. I crossed off Mexico from the list. I had been there many times. I was stationed in California for a while, and we used to go down to Tijuana, and sometimes we'd venture farther down into Mexico. And I was enamored by it a little bit, but it just wasn't a place that I wanted to live forever. And the language barrier, I could speak a little bit of Spanish from high school Spanish, but in the Philippines, the majority of people speak English. It's not perfect, but you can communicate with almost everyone here. And then Costa Rica, didn't feel very comfortable. It's a beautiful country and nice, friendly people. I just wasn't comfortable moving down to that part of the world for some reason. Something in my gut just kind of pushed me away from that. And then in Thailand, it was probably that would have been my second choice, but by that time I'd been talking to Jen for quite a while, and that put the Philippines at the top of the list. So I got my visa, and I got our marriage reported with the consulate in San Francisco, because we got married in Utah. That's where they performed the ceremony from online, which put me in the jurisdiction of the San Francisco consulate. They were very friendly and very helpful at the consulate in San Francisco. The turnaround time on my report of marriage and getting a stamp to send on to immigration was 7 to 10 days. And I sent it to them, and 10 days later they had approved it and sent it back to me. And I got my request for the visa, the spouse visa, up to Chicago. And once again, I had absolutely no issues with the consulate in Chicago. They were very helpful, and they put a rush on it for me, and I got my visa very quickly. And then so by that time I had my travel plans that were for July of 2021, and my last day of work was May 2021 as a teacher there in the high school. And I was able to retire at age 60. I was still 59 when the school year ended, so I didn't begin to draw my school retirement until October of that same year, after I had already been in the Philippines for several months. But it was okay. I had enough money saved up, and I also was drawing another pension as well from the military. And I knew in the future I was going to start collecting my Social Security when I turned 62, which that's coming up on me here pretty quick. I need to do my application here next month, so that'll start here at the end of the year. So I landed in Cebu. We were still under strict COVID lockdown at the time. I had to. We landed at the airport. They swab tested us, gave us an orientation, and then I had to hop in a van and go straight to a quarantine hotel for 10 days there in Cebu City, which was okay. It was a tiny little room. I was in there by myself. They brought the meals to the room, couldn't leave the room. I mean, it was kind of like being in prison there for 10 days, but it was well worth it. I could already hear those sights and smells, and that it was bringing back memories from when I was here in the 1980s, and I was getting pretty excited about seeing Jen. So that at the end of my 10 days, my swab test came back negative. I rode back to the airport, flew on over to Manila, where Jen met me, and we stayed in a hotel there for 3 nights. And after those 3 nights, we hopped in a van and came down to Lipa City. Lipa City was another place that I had researched during the time leading up to coming to the Philippines, because again, it's at a higher elevation and the temperatures are fairly moderate and cooler here almost 9 months out of the year. There's really only 3 months where the temperatures are very extremely hot, and we're in that time right now. It's like May, June, and July. Sometimes it starts in April, but for the most part, the other months, we don't need air conditioning during those months. We open the windows, and I need to get under the covers at night whenever we're in bed without any AC, because it gets down in the 60s, and it only gets up to the low 80s during the day. It's pretty moderate here. I enjoy it quite much, and we get out and walk every day. I was a little bit disappointed that we weren't able to go to Negros Oriental, but I've been very happy living here in Lipa City. The people are extremely friendly, and it's a great area. In every direction, there's things to go and see all of the time. We're always on the go. Our life is very active. I really don't have any complaints whatsoever. We're planning on going and visiting on Negros Occidental next summer, spending about a month over in the Valencia area, maybe take in Bohol and Siquijor Island. And I don't know, I really don't have that many complaints about my move here. I'm happy that I made the choice I did. I feel better. I sleep better at night. I know I've had several comments in the videos that I have a tendency to sugarcoat things, and I truly don't mean to do that. I'm just a positive-minded person. I tend to look at the positive side of things, even whenever things are bad. I guess I get that from dealing with special education students and teenage girls. You have to kind of keep a positive demeanor about yourself when you're dealing with kids that have emotional problems and behavior problems, and it's ingrained in me. It's really my personality to begin with, so that's just the way I am. I don't mean to make it sound like this is some utopia where everything's perfect. I mean, there's things here that I don't like as well, and I had to get accustomed to, but it's just something that I was willing to do. And if you're not willing to, if there's things that you cannot put up with, and that's part of the experience in the Philippines, then by all means, don't come here and live. I mean, find your own place, find your own paradise. There's a place for everyone. But, don't belittle the people that do come here. It's a really nice place, and the Philippine people are very nice. A lot of them, live on a very, very small amount of money, and quite a few of them live below the poverty line. And you see some pretty severe poverty especially up in the heavily populated areas around Manila. And, I mean, your heart goes out to these folks, and there's absolutely no way you can help them all. But every once in a while, you can make a show of kindness to someone in need out there without, hurting anyone's feelings or putting a dent in your own expenses. Just be a good person and try to help people when you can. If you can't, then hey, just be nice to them at least. That's all I can say. Anyway, thanks for joining me here.
As always, we appreciate it. See you later.